holding my breath and I'm ready to go. I'm falling right in and I'm ready to go. I found what I want and I know that we're on top, so I'll tap in and I'm ready to whoa.
Finding Beautiful Strangers is my adventure as a serial entrepreneur. I live for the win and for the dream. It's intense, it's exciting, and I just won't surrender, no matter how hard it gets. So, who is a beautiful stranger? From the Hollywood A-list, to the insiders of the beauty and fashion circles, to the everyday people that I meet along the way. These are the stories that I love to tell, to inspire, educate, and share what it really takes to achieve the dream. I'm Abby Wallach, and being a serial entrepreneur is not a job, it's a lifestyle. And it's my story.
Take me back to Manhattan, back to the city where the magic happens. You wear your suit and tie and I will wear my satin. When all the lights are bright and we won't even make it back till 3 a.m. I'm so laughing, cause we accidentally got lost on Madison. Skyscrapers all you see, can you imagine? Let's dream about the day in the city that never sleeps. Take me back to Manhattan.
I've been really into time travel recently, as I've been thinking about my own journey. So let's time travel together and start as close to the beginning as we can. You could say I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. My earliest memories of being on the entrepreneurial journey begin as a 5-year-old girl on the South Shore of Long Island, just outside of New York City, when I negotiated my first cutthroat deal for a piece of bubblegum. I know, really, who would trade a Cinderella watch for a piece of bubblegum? I actually did that. At 5, it was a hard negotiation. It was super tough. But I knew that I needed that bubble gum more than anything. And my mother gets a phone call. And that phone call was, did you know that Abby traded her Cinderella watch for a piece of bazooka bubble gum? I think my mother laughed because those were the things that I did when I was a little kid. Lucky for me, I got the watch back and I got an extra pack of gum. When I think about the bubble gum story, why it's so important is that it really sets the stage for a little girl seeing something they wanted and going after it. The Cinderella watch, which I can see in clear sight, was given to me by my grandmother. It was a very special gift that I think she gave to me for my birthday. And what little girl wouldn't love a Cinderella watch? But when I saw that bubblegum, that was like the bomb for me, and I needed to have it. So maybe all I had was this watch, and I took the chance and I said, hey, let's negotiate. Here's something that I have that I love, but I really want what you have. Can we swap? When the story came back to me, years and years later, because it was kind of like this running joke in this family in the 5 towns, why would a little girl give away a watch her grandmother gave her? Well, there was something deep within inside me. Maybe I wasn't given bubblegum a lot. I don't really remember the actual reason why I did that. But what it showed me about myself was that I had a vision, I wanted something, and I went after it. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get it. And I did. As a kid, I was full of ideas, and they were big. I always envisioned how things could be done better, always seeing a solution for a problem that was put in front of me or I wanted to solve. I would sit in the movie theater with my mother, and I would say, shouldn't there be something to hold your soda? Why do I have to put my soda on this dirty floor? And she would look at me and be like, yeah, that's kind of a good idea. The next thing I knew, 10 years later, there were cups at the end of every movie theater seat. And there were just things that I saw. I would sit with my father, who was in a family business, and I would just give him ideas. One day I found this little bag of gummy bears. They were these little colorful gummy things that I found in a plastic baggie at this store where I grew up. It was called Toddy's. And I looked at him. I remember vividly sitting on his bed, and he was so sweet, a wonderful man with a beautiful smile. He was really a true prince, if there ever was one. And I said, Dad, wouldn't it be so amazing if we could create a candy store? and have barrels and barrels and barrels of candy that you just would scoop up and stick in a bag. Well, fast forward many years later, we know that that little type of candy shop became the thing. So I always had fun ideas and things that I wanted to pursue, and I would put them out into the world, and I'd share them with anyone who would listen to me, quite frankly. And I'm still exactly the same today. I share those ideas, I create them, I innovate, and I do things that speak to my heart and that I think will make a difference in the world. I do it because if I don't, I would not be me. So many years later, at the young age of I will never tell, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. You know, it's the thing to be. And I'm not an entrepreneur by just nature. I am an entrepreneur by nurture. And really what that means is I grew up in a way of being in the world that I would just see things and put those things into action. So that's the story that I'm going to share. Some of the fun, crazy, wild moments through the course of a lifetime that I've learned, that I've struggled with, that I've played with, that I've embraced and feel very, very fortunate to have had understood my dream and the love of business that I truly have and what it means to me. I actually used to carry around a beauty box. It was this little box, and it had pearls and lipstick and, all things a true fashionista would love. Blush, I think it was Clinique back then. Just everything and anything I could find. And I would actually make lotions and potions in the bathroom. And we just would make things up. And that was my early interest in beauty and fashion and all things girly. My grandmothers introduced me to the world of beauty, fashion, and fragrance. Just watching and listening to them was a huge inspiration for me. In my earliest of years, I would sit at my grandmother's vanity and just swivel around all day long, dreaming that one day I would make makeup, make lotions and potions, and I would play and I would invent. And I just had this vision. I loved fragrance. I loved perfume. I loved makeup. I just loved to be girly and have fun and watch her at her vanity and get dressed up and put on makeup and experience the beauty of a woman getting ready for an evening out in the world. And the world that I grew up in was a world of business entrepreneurs, women who were extremely savvy, extremely bright, and were entrepreneurs in their own right. When I was young, my great-grandparents started a kosher catering business. Katimsky and Tuckman started in a hall above a saloon the family owned. From what I've been told, there were meetings and parties for the union workers, and my great-grandmother and her father started serving sandwiches in the early days. Over time, the business grew into a famous kosher catering business throughout New York City, where they planned parties from the finest hotels in New York City to synagogues, event spaces in Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island, or anywhere the business would take them. As my great aunt, my grandmother's sister, will tell me, they were the best at what they did, and they provided a wonderful experience for their clients, always top of the line, to make their clients' families' memories extra special and unique. As I grew up, my father was one of the youngest who actually took that business and built it out over time after many years. And as a young girl, I would work for him. And I would go to the formal affairs, and I was a cocktail waitress. And that was an opportunity for me to, I don't even know what I was doing. I just had to look good. And I was supposed to fold napkins and pour water and do those things that a cocktail waitress would do back in that day. And I did that job. And then as soon as somebody found out that I was Marty's daughter, the conversation immediately changed, and I was sitting at the table with the guests, and they were telling me they had a grandson to set me up with. I was always sharing my ideas, but I remember conversations where they were talking about staff and hiring different people, and I had heard things through the grapevine, and I kindly advised different family members not to do certain things. And they kind of looked at me and they were like, probably thinking, we're not going to listen to her. Like, why does she even know this? So, there were things that I would say. I don't know if anyone ever really listened to me because, these ideas that I would put out to them and innovations and imaginary things some of them were so big that they just couldn't even wrap their head around them. So it was just kind of how I rolled. A lot of the advice that I modeled after was to be honest, to be fair, to have integrity, to stand behind what you say, to honor people that are more mature and may know more, to listen carefully, which I wasn't great at, but I've taught myself how to be a better listener. Do right by others, play fair, but be shrewd. Everything's a compromise. You can compromise, but you also have to be firm and clear. These are some of my early childhood memories that just inspired me to have my own businesses.
This is what I want. This is what I need. If you don't have to go, I can set you free. Are you gonna make a move? Are you gonna come and see? Whatever you wanna do, you know it's cool with me.
But another cool thing about this family journey is not only did they create this catering business that was very successful, and trust me, it was really hard work. I mean, there is nothing easy about building a business from scratch, launching something, feeding people, making sure the food's good, making sure that the staff is paid, making sure that everything goes smoothly, you're on a timeline. I mean, all of these things are real, business, and they did a great job at what they did. During the summer, Katimsky and Tuckman did not have refrigeration for the food, so they could not entertain and hold events. Taking a chance, they bought a sleepaway camp called Camp Brookwood. It was considered the Singer Sewing Machine estate. The point is that they had the foresight to use their knowledge and bring their staff to the camp and make sure that the food was really good for the summer, to invite and have all of the families that they catered for to come to this sleepaway camp. So Camp Brookwood became a very special place and had many, many memories for hundreds and hundreds of families and children. And to this day, it still is a very special place that was actually just sold after many years. And a few years ago, someone sent me a YouTube video from 1949 that showed Camp Brookwood in its earliest years. And it was in black and white. And I could see my great-grandparents at the dais at the end of every summer. They would have a banquet. And at this banquet, the owners of the camp would be there and some of the people, the staff who work there. And it would be a very formal, beautiful event. Because remember, they were in the catering business. So everything that they did had a special, unique quality to it. It was beautiful. It was delicious. They were always representing their brand and what they did. Not thinking of it like that back then. They were just doing what they were doing. But that was the end result. And the beauty of me finding this video, actually a cousin of mine sent it to me in the middle of the night. You got to check this YouTube video out. Was that I saw so many family members of mine from when they were children. And not only did I see my family members, but my grandparents. I saw my grandmother in like her 20s and my grandfather cutting this magnificent cake for the end of the summer and the burning of the numbers. And these were all traditions that when I actually went to the camp, I lived with. So it was very interesting to see the trajectory of all these traditions that evolved over all of these years. It was very meaningful. And then, of course, because I didn't really tell you this yet, but I've spent my career in media and entertainment, I'm actually a producer.
Let's play this out like it's forever, ever, ever, yeah. You and me together, yeah. There ain't nothing better, yeah.
I knew, because of my background and expertise, that whoever put this video on YouTube, they must have lots of videos and they must also be able to turn it into color. I just had this instinct that whoever launched this was somebody in the media business. So I hunted down this guy, and it was very exciting to find him because he told me that there were 8 more films in the can and that he actually was in the business and could turn this video into color. So he did that for me, which was super exciting. And the next day I was able to see this amazing video, a few of them actually, in color, sharing the very early beginnings of this camp that was so meaningful to so many people. And today, what's interesting is on Facebook and in social media, the whole Camp Brookwood community from those very early on days of the 1940s to today, people are still in communication. They're still talking about it. They're still remembering it. They're still singing the songs. They're still reminiscing about the moments of their childhood that made them feel so incredibly special and so connected. And when I look at that and I look at the world that we live in today, I think, wow, how amazing that this special place up in Eldred, New York, that was the summer home to many, created so many beautiful memories for hundreds and hundreds of people. And that was because of all of the people that were involved. It was the family who started it and who ran it, which was, of course, a very hard business to run, to say the least. But it's the people, right? And it's always the people that you meet along the way. In the next episode, it's the 1970s. The foundation of big business starts to develop in me, and I learned something important from my dad, why he was so admired and how he actually might have played baseball for the Dodgers. Plus, why I was quickly fired from my first job in fashion and how it destroyed my interest in retail and wanting to be a shop girl ever again. Don't be a stranger. Find me at abby.wallach on Instagram. And if you want to learn more about my projects and the things that I've done, check it out, abbywallach.com. This podcast is produced and edited by Mark Rako. Copyright 2022, Abby Wallach Productions.